The body of a teenage girl found under a bridge a month after she went missing in her small town exactly 27 years ago. Why detectives are still digging into the murder of Sonya Wallace. This is Unsolved. On a February afternoon in 1999, 15-year-old Sonya Wallace went to make the 4-block trip to the Rockdale post office to mail a letter. She never came home. About a month later, after no leads in her disappearance, a rancher reported a gruesome discovery: vultures circling her remains below a bridge about 40 miles from her home. Investigators say it appeared that she'd been bludgeoned to death. The Williamson County Sheriff's Office took over the case since that's where her body was found. And on this somber anniversary of her disappearance, we are taking a look back at the case and a look ahead at what is next in this investigation with Detective Mark McKinney of the Williamson County Sheriff's Office. Thanks for joining us again.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Set the scene for us a bit. We know Rockdale is actually about a county over from Williamson County. It's in Milam. But what can you tell us about what some of those towns in Milam and Williamson County were like back then?
Yeah, so Rockdale, like you said, is in Milam County. It joins Williamson County on our east side. Rockdale, Taylor, they were a lot smaller than they were today, and they, as far as I can tell, they were very connected with how people knew one another from both towns. I mean, other than that, they both have main roads going through them, and a lot of back and forth.
Talk to us a bit about Sonia. I think this case is so striking. She's just 15 years old when this all happens and she disappears. But what do we know about who she was as a person?
So Sonia was she had brothers, and she had a hardworking mother that she lived there in Rockdale with. On that day, her mother was at work, and she told her family that she was going to run down to the post office to either buy some stamps or mail a letter. There was some conflicting as to which one of those she was going to do. We also had some friends and other witnesses tell us that she might have been going to meet somebody over there. But everybody we've talked to in this case talk about how friendly she was, that she got along with everyone. She had some problems at school. She's getting in and out of trouble at school, typical 15-year-old behavior. But she hadn't hurt anyone, and she didn't deserve at all what happened to her.
As we noted, she was missing for nearly a month. I can't imagine how terrifying that is for any family, and of course for Sonia's family. But give us some insight into missing persons investigations. We just spoke with you recently about the Rachel Cook case, another missing persons investigation, that just how those differ from maybe your typical homicide investigation. What are investigators doing in those first few weeks when someone has disappeared like this?
Well, it's very different from just your homicide scene, because there you would have a place to start, really. When the person's missing, especially in her case, her being a runaway, being the fact that she was still a juvenile, she'd be categorized as a runaway juvenile, which is treated a little bit differently, because a juvenile can't legally make decisions for themselves, and they typically can't drive cars and things like that. So it's treated with a little more urgency to get those people back home. But in her case, when she was missing for a month, that was obviously a big problem, because anytime a child is missing for a month, it's a little bit different than an adult missing for a month. It's even more concerning. I'm not saying the adult is not concerning, but when a 15-year-old has not even spoken to her mom or her siblings in a month, that becomes really scary.
Unfortunately, this did not have the outcome anyone wanted. When Sonia was found, this investigation obviously transformed into something very different. So walk us through the day she was found.
Yeah, so there was a guy that lived close to where she was found, which was, it was really close to the intersection of County Road 490 and FM 619. It's down at the very southern tip of our county, on the way to, if you're going to Elgin from the Taylor area. He was driving by and he noticed that there were buzzards circling around a bridge that went over a little creek, and he got out and decided he would try to see what was down there, and he noticed that it was the body of a female human, not an animal like he was probably expecting. And he went to wherever he had to go. It wasn't he didn't have a cell phone that he could run back and grab and call 911, so he had to go and call 911 and then return to the scene and waited on deputies to show up, and then they secured the crime scene and went from there.
Deputies very quickly realized that something really bad had happened to Sonia. What clues were there at the crime scene to indicate what had happened with her?
Well, so her body was so badly decomposed at the time that they weren't able to look at her and tell what could have caused her death, really. Just due to the decomposition, they had to wait on the autopsy for that. But they could tell that there was probably foul play involved because of the fact that she had more or less been thrown off the side of a bridge, and it's just a terrible thing, and so that's what they had to start with.
Were there any viable leads at the time, or who do you look to when you realize something that horrible has happened to a young girl?
Well, you would initially start with the family, not necessarily as in being suspects, but to get information as to who she was and who she ran around with and what kind of problems she did or did not have. And then you would start going to the friends, and then their friends, and then the school, and anybody who might know some information about her that would let us know if she had any issues with anyone, or any problems, or any recent breakups with boyfriends or whatever. And we start interviewing them, and that's how we eventually get something.
We know for many years we didn't hear much as the public about this case, but we know just a few years ago the Williamson County Sheriff's Office, kind of infused some more urgency, formed a cold case unit, and we started hearing more details and getting some new insight into many of these cases in your county and Sonia's as well. Talk about that shift in the last few years. What kind of energy have you seen on this investigation in particular?
Quite a bit, because there was a lot that needed to be done on the case. When I picked it up, there was a lot of people that needed to be interviewed, and some people that needed to be checked into again. There was a lot of evidence that needed to be tested, and some retested. Needed to confirm some alibis and things like that, and so there was a lot of energy surrounding it, and really wanting to solve it, and feeling like it was very solvable.
Remind me when you came on the case.
That would have been 2022.
Okay. I ask because in 2019 your agency had told our partners at NBC News that as many as 300 people who could know something about this case needed to be talked to again. That was such a staggering number, and then hearing you talk about all the people you needed to still speak with by 2022, is there still a long list of folks that you're trying to get a hold of, trying to have those conversations with?
There are some people that are still outstanding that I'd like to talk to. There are some people, that don't think are quite telling us the whole story. We do still have a lot of work to do on the case. We have, made that list of people that we need to talk to much smaller than it was. but we are still working on it, and we do still have a list of people that we need to figure out either how they were involved or if they were involved.
We know that takes time. Something else we've talked about a lot on this show about taking time is the testing of evidence you mentioned.
Absolutely.
Was any evidence tested back at the time in 1999? And then what's the status now, of course, with all the technological advancements we've seen over the last 2 decades?
Yes, so they did do a good job back then as far as sending the items to the lab. They were just looking for different things than what we're looking for now. Now we're looking for DNA and any sort of trace evidence, such as hair, a tiny little piece of fingernail, anything like that could give us a DNA profile. Back then they didn't have that. So now our focus kind of shifts, and we're able to look at the evidence again a different way because we're actually looking for something completely different than they would be looking for when they're looking for evidence. The bread and butter then was to find a fingerprint. Now, I'm not saying a fingerprint is not great to have, but we need something so much less than that that could potentially identify someone, and we're doing that on Sonia's evidence.
What is your hope, or what is your thought about what it would take to solve this case? I know you've mentioned the interviews, you've mentioned the evidence. Is it a combination of all of that together? What would it take to get some kind of a breakthrough in this case?
Yeah, so what would be great is to be able to get a DNA profile of a suspect off of the evidence that we have, and we have quite a bit of evidence from this case. Where she was found, she did have her clothes and belongings with her, so we do still have all that stuff. So number one would be to obtain a DNA profile from some of those things, and then build off that with the interviews and other witnesses, and just fit it all together and hopefully make an arrest.
I want to end by asking you about Sonia's family. We've heard from them, they've spoken to media over the years, but if you're able to give us some insight into, I can only imagine what it's like still waiting for an answer after all these years. Are you all still working closely with her family, and if so, can you share anything from them?
Yeah, we still communicate with Sonia's mother. Her dad's passed away, but we do still keep in contact with Sonia's mother. This has really beat her down over the years. She really hopes that she can eventually find an answer. And she actually specifically said that before she passes away, she hopes that she has an answer, and we hope that we can give that to her at some point.
We know it sounds like that's something you all are hard at work on. Detective McKinney, anything else you want our audience to know about this case?
Just please call us if you have any information, whether it be big or small. If you might have seen her around the post office in Rockdale that day, we'd really like to know if she was talking to anyone. You see her near any vehicles, you see her leave with anybody. I mean, anything like that would be tremendously helpful.
Detective Mark McKinney with the Williamson County Sheriff's Office, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Join us next week on KXAN Plus for another episode of Unsolved Central Texas. New episodes air every Thursday at 1. And watch any episode anytime. Just go to KXAN.com or look for the KXAN Plus Originals category on our streaming app. We'll see you next week.